Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Level 1 News. Today we're doing government and social, but before we get started with that, we have another box of sodas to try. Hooray!
Do we know what's in the box?
We don't. Well,
I assumed it was soda.
I've only read the note. So it says, hello again. Hello again, good sir.
It's a long note.
It is a long note. I'm probably going to skip some of this. I won't spam you with a bunch of gift boxes, but I do want to reload your Diet Orange. Okay? Plus, I came across a bunch of other random stuff. Here, I'll let you deal with this. And then there's the end. And then there's some stuff past the end. So
what am I doing? What do you want me to do?
You do that while I deal with the
He's
unboxing.
going to open the box, yeah.
What?
Oh, no, it won't open.
Oh. there's some stuff in here that might get us demonetized.
Is it like super personal or?
No. It's banned items.
Oh.
Yeah, some of this was delivered by courier. So it's like, I get the impression that, like, I don't know, the I-75 drug corridor, somebody was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in town anyway, I'll just drop it off.
Winthrop Liquors. If you find yourself in Florida, I don't know which part. Do we know which part? Check out Winthrop Liquors and talk to Morgan. Show him your Pokemon.
That is a mighty gift box. It is very heavy.
It says Whistle Pig. Craft
Wow.
beer? Is that beer?
No, this is rye
craft
whiskey.
box. Gift box.
Well, we haven't opened the box yet. The box has very obviously been...
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, that's an expensive... I didn't bring my knife because I'm wearing shorts.
Oh, a trucker hat.
a Watershed Kitchen and Bar trucker hat. A World War II ammo pouch.
This is a
Ooh.
Mosin clip pouch, I believe is what he said. So this would not have been United States issue. I don't know. 1986. That wasn't World War II.
There's a glass jar of pennies that says noisemaker. What's that?
Wendell, you should play with that during the news.
What a random bunch of stuff. What are these?
I don't know.
They look like tiny canteens. Is this like alcoholic? Keep this in your pocket
you put
type
that
of?
down in your purse, yeah, and you just...
There's a logo
Drink it
on
up.
it. Looks like an arrow, maybe?
There's another one.
An arrow inside a triangle. What sort of esoteric symbol is that?
I feel certain there was an explanation for this in the letter.
Oh. Well, I can tell you what's itemized here. Blanton's Bourbon Drum. A drum? Post-World War II Russian ammo. Oh, post-World War II. Okay, so this is not Mosin. This is probably like SKS or something. Cold War. Makes more sense. Azevsk marked Mosin oil battle plus blanks. Bottle. Oil bottle. Oh, these are the Mosin oil bottles. Okay.
Sunshine, Good Energy, Clementine Twist. That's on the list for today. There's another Bird Dog whiskey shot something. Ah, yes. Look at this, Ryan. I feel certain this was intended for you because you said something about disposable straws.
Yeah, I don't remember what I said. Oh, this is a... it transforms.
Is it a reusable straw?
Yeah, but it's foldable.
Here is the Cooper set of things.
Oh, coasters for your drinks. Wow, that is a robust coaster.
Yeah,
That's
I like
one
that.
coaster.
Here's a shirt that might possibly fit Krista. That is Real Ingredients Cocktail. Look at that.
Oh, it's got little.
Ooh.
It's got little plastic gaskets on it too. Oh, it's
That is a-
magnetic.
That's a fancy straw. I have like a metal one that I use, but...
Or no, maybe it's spring loaded. How would you clean this?
Good lord, the stuff in here.
a little tiny brush that goes in it.
Sorry this is taking forever. I'm sure there's time indexes.
What else are they going to do?
No Chino. Watershed Distillery, barrel finished. Oh, good lord.
Oh.
24.9%
From-
alcohol.
From
Wow.
Watershed in Ohio, Italian liqueur made with walnuts, spicy, sweet, and slightly bitter. You can sip it and add it to ice cream or add it to a cocktail. It's very popular even with non-drinkers.
Deep Eddy Orange alcoholic something. Here's a random cigar.
Do any of you guys smoke? I don't smoke. Do you guys smoke?
No.
No. Doesn't hubby smoke cigars?
Very rarely.
That sounds like you disapprove.
Hydrate, refresh,
Well-
refuel. Zero sugar, caffeine, and colors, antioxidants and vitamins. Orange passion fruit. All right, this is top of the list for today's first orange.
I don't know if we got descriptions of all that other stuff.
Fucano Vault number 1.
Is that wine, you think?
We got
Is that
a,
an actual glass bottle?
Not for resale.
oh, I've had this before, I think. Doritos?
Doritos.
Doritos, yeah.
Or is it Jarritos?
Yeah, you
They
get
ha-
that in the Spanish aisle.
They have that at the local Mexican grocery, too. I had that many years ago.
Is that orange flavor or mango flavor?
It's like a citrusy flavor that's not as sharp as far as orange goes.
Mandarin, that's orange.
Here's a tiny bottle of Blanton's bourbon. That's just down the road. Stargazing with the 8th State. Imperial Pastry Stout. The 8th State. I thought we were on the 3rd estate.
Pastry stout. God, I love these hipster beer names.
By antioxidant infusion. This does not appear to be. One bottle is 10 calories? That's... wow. Okay. This looks promising. And a tiny little thing of White Russian cocktail. 17% alcohol by volume.
Oh,
Those are
Mini
good.
keg.
you don't
Yeah.
really see cocktails in cans very often, do you?
It's a padded box. And also a very nice Old Forester bottle opener.
Thank you. That's a lot of stuff.
What an eclectic grouping of swag.
Literally went across their entire store looking for everything that was even remotely orange.
Well, most of this stuff is not orange. Oh. I guess I could try a cigar.
Is it an orange cigar? Is that the thing? Because that used to be a thing.
I don't think so.
All right, we know this is pretty reasonable, so this is awesome. I will drink the crap out of this. Don't worry.
What is that?
That's the Publix
Oh,
orange.
okay. We've seen that.
Yeah, yeah. You
So,
finished the other bottle, right?
Yeah, I think the orange passion fruit. This is what's on my list for today.
What brand is that?
This is
Oh, that's the ice stuff.
sparkling ice caffeine. Yeah, there's no calories in this, but it's caffeinated.
Don't we have some of that left over from the other one?
Not the same stuff, not the exact same stuff.
Okay.
But we do have some left over from the other thing. I still have one can of the San Pellegrino, which is amazing, that I'm saving.
Well, yeah, we've already seen that.
That is a lot of
Are
stuff.
you drinking that warm or do you have... Oh, okay, you have a cup of ice.
Yeah, I planned. I should have just put everything in the fridge, but I wasn't sure what was in there.
What is? I didn't see this one. What is this one? Nocino, I think is what he said this was.
No.
This
Yeah,
was the
some sort of
Ohio
walnut.
one, walnut
Yeah.
and spicy.
Oh, yes.
Probably
this
good
is-
mixed.
This has a very strong scent of grapefruit.
Grapefruit?
Like, it's citrus and grapefruit, but it's a more overpowering on the grapefruit side.
This coaster is ridiculously too large.
This
Well, if you
is
have a big gulp, it's perfect.
It's attractive though.
this is This is a very unique flavor.
How orangey is it?
It's not especially orange. It has the orange aftertaste. It has the sharpness of like a good orange, like the aroma after you swallow it. But the taste is decidedly not orange. It's the aftertaste that's more orange.
What's the taste?
It's almost like a pomegranate orange mixture.
Go through the checklist. Carbonation, sugar.
It's 5 calories, no fat, no sodium, no carbohydrates, no proteins, 15% in vitamin A, 15% niacin.
We don't need the vitamin counts.
It's 15% vitamin D.
No,
That's
but I'm not.
good.
I don't need the stuff from the can. I'm talking about what your opinion.
criteria,
Because you always talked about the carbonation level being very important for that.
The carbonation level in this, for what it is just perfect. It's not too carbonated, but it's not carbonated enough. It's a little carbonated, but not. It's way less carbonated than soda.
Well, and it's not got all the sugar in it. That soda does, correct?
So we're not calling that soda?
Well, I mean, I guess it is. Way less carbonated than like the Publix orange soda.
What about that letter grade?
This is an A- at least.
Wow.
That ties the top runner, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't remember who that was.
Ingredients: carbonated water, 2% less of natural flavors, malic acid, beta carotene for color, caffeine from natural sources, green tea extract. The green tea, that's what I'm tasting. Potassium benzoate, to ensure freshness. Sucralose, gum, Arabic, ester gum, calcium disodium EDTA, and a bunch of other stuff.
Are we counting this as a diet drink? I mean, 10 calories is pretty low.
It's kind of like a static water.
Yeah, they've added all the vitamins and stuff, I guess, to offset the fact that it's, but it's mostly carbonated water apparently. It's delightful.
Welcome to the Static Water Club.
A delightful A-. And thank you again to Morgan from Withrop Liquors. And if you find yourself in Florida, I don't know where exactly, check out Withrop Liquors.
He already emailed me and said there's another box on the way.
Oh, wow.
Apparently Withrop Liquors incredibly overstocked.
Well, with the pandemic and whatnot, we can contribute to their advertising dollars.
No, people are drinking way more, and apparently women are drinking extravagantly more.
Oh yeah.
And when asked about it, the answer is just to deal.
They made it legal here to Uber Eats alcohol, so
I think you can ship alcohol in Kentucky now too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about some government news. How long did that take?
Like 15 minutes. So
12.
Welcome to the actual news.
12 minutes.
My goodness, I am so sorry.
Timestamp. Let's talk about the big G7 summit. The leaders of the free world got together and probably made a bunch of bad decisions. And there was a lot of finger pointing, a lot of, you need to stop doing this. But, I mean, isn't everyone doing this? Isn't that the problem?
Biden tells Putin certain cyber attacks should be, quote unquote, off limits. So
shouldn't all cyber attacks be off limits?
Yeah, they outlined the 12. What was it, like the 12 days of Christmas? Or I'm sorry, the 12 pillars of infrastructure or something.
It's, food, energy, communication, the obvious things that you would do in cyber war.
Yeah,
or just regular war, like cutting supply lines.
The response here was a bit lukewarm because it was like, there's criminals. I don't know what to tell you.
But also, they were constantly like, Putin, you need to stop doing this. And he was like, well, you need to stop doing this too. What kind of game are we playing here, folks? Let's be honest with each other. We have a new person taking over as FTC chair. It's not the same as the FCC chair, although their jobs are strangely intertwined these days. And what we know about this person is they're not a huge fan of big tech companies at all.
Lina Khan, progressive tech critic, sworn in as the FTC chair, one of the youngest ever. She's like 32, which I guess is young.
For that job, it sure is.
Yeah.
She was already a commissioner, and now she's being moved up to chair. She was also the youngest commissioner ever.
Well, if being young imparts an ability to understand technology, we're in better shape than we were.
But she is pretty much, by putting her in that position, they're guaranteeing that the big tech companies are going to get further abuse from this organization.
I think it's going to be, you need to play ball or we're going to make your life miserable. I think this is just totally just lip service.
And it wasn't the FTC that gave us this one, but it also wasn't the FCC, who is usually in charge of this kind of thing. And the reason probably is because in the past we've had some questions about just how accurate the FCC numbers are in this regard. And sure enough, this version doesn't quite match.
Exclusive, the White House debuts its new map showing the broadband vacuum. Remember the app that we talked about a year and a half ago and said, hey, everybody should go play with the app? Look at that. All the red places are places where the internet is awful. Can confirm.
Kentucky, it's just a sea of red.
Every place is.
You get like half of I-75 and then it just dies off in the middle.
So, yeah, this is different data gathering. because the FCC actually gets all the numbers from the ISPs. So theirs is a little, maybe rose-colored. Maybe a lot rose-colored.
Maybe super lying.
There's nothing exactly going to happen with this because the White House usually doesn't deal with this kind of thing, but hopefully it'll put a little pressure on the people who should do something about this. And the Supreme Court, still busy making decisions about things that matter less than other things they ignore. But this one was interesting because we've talked about this one before when it comes to LinkedIn. And is public-facing website data something that you should be able to stop people from getting to if you want?
Is that a protected trade secret?
Well, maybe it is.
The U.S. Supreme Court revives a LinkedIn bid to shield personal data. This is a terrible headline. There's a competitor to the LinkedIn that's literally just scraping the LinkedIn website.
Well, yeah, they are a competitor, but what they're doing is like creating alerts off of the LinkedIn data. So it's a little bit of added value, and LinkedIn recently introduced that as well. After that.
So this case will do exactly zero to stop criminals from scraping, but maybe a competitive barrier. And I think that on that basis, it's like a telephone book. So a telephone book contains factual information, but a telephone book company can put up made up names and addresses and stuff in there, which are then subject to copyright. Same with maps. Maps technically are not really subject to copyright unless you make some aspect of them creative, and then that might be subject to copyright. And the way that map makers have done that is add things to maps that are not there, and then if you're going to copy their map, you probably are going to accidentally copy something they added, which means you then run afoul of copyright law.
So the Supreme Court is actually just kicking that back. They have not made an ultimate decision, but they're going to allow it to go through. So who knows? Maybe the LinkedIn will be able to stop them. The previous ruling had said they have no control. I mean, look, put it on the public-facing website. It's out there. Deal with it. Supreme Court says maybe not. The U.S. and the EU, of course, at the big G7 meeting, a lot of stuff was talked about technology. And if you recall, the EU is really, the big tech companies are the whipping boys of the EU PMs. They love it. And the U.S. is saying, hey, guys, we can't help but notice that these companies that you hate so much are all flying the same flag.
The U.S. has warned the EU against anti-American tech policy. The NSC has some strong opinions about Biden's first presidential trip to Brussels. So I got the impression that it wasn't just like Google and Facebook, but it was also like American networking companies. As I read this, I sort of got hints of Huawei. It's like, hey, don't treat American companies the way that we collectively, EU and US, are treating Huawei because we think there are backdoors and we think the technology is subpar and blah, blah, blah.
I think it's fair to say, and I suppose his most ardent supporters might deny this, but objectively, I think it's fair to say that Donald Trump did not deal well with insubordination or criticism.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
He tended to react strongly and publicly, and what some people would not describe as presidentially. But now we're also describing that secretly can be added to some of those descriptors.
The Trump Justice Department subpoenaed Apple for data from House Intelligence Committee Democrats, sources say. So the situation here was that there was a House Intelligence Committee that had Democrats on it, and there was a leak to the press, several leaks. And so the Justice Department, in the course of investigating the leaks, not only subpoenaed Apple whatever data that they had on the members of this committee, but also their families and their children.
Oh.
Which should be illegal.
Yeah.
This comes on the back of last week when we found out that the same thing had been done to newspapers.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff going on.
There has to be a lot of corruption for this kind of thing to be okayed.
Well, we already knew that. Just most of them were. I think most presidents were smart enough to know that this would wash out eventually.
This seems worse than Watergate.
I don't think that's. Don't think anybody died. And AI research. When someone comes to you and says, hey, listen, your country, insert country name, whatever country you're from, we need to get AI research. We need to stay in the pack here because we can't let these other countries get ahead of us. This is the wave of the future. You'd say like, yeah, that does sound like a good idea. But then when they really tell you what they want here, you should say no, because this is terrifying.
The U.S. launches a task force to study opening government data for AI research. The task force to develop plans, which require congressional approval, for sharing data on health, driving, demographics, and more. Again, this article had undertones of the article last week, I think it was last week or the week before, that was talking about the EU opening up medical data for all the EU citizens for research. This is like, oh, that's probably a good idea. We should do that. And it's like, obviously you haven't thought this through.
There is paywall, but there is a horrible quote in here, or maybe it was the alternative article that I read. I was like, well, the Department of Transportation already has all this telemetry data from the cars. Just let us look at it. And I was like, they do? Oh,
wait,
really?
Excuse me?
I didn't realize we were passing that along already. So that's probably going to be a thing. And of course, we've talked about anonymizing data like that.
Yeah.
And how it's a fool's errand. You don't trust it at all. It doesn't work.
If you have the full data set, it's like, I'm going to need to know which data sets were at Ryan's house the most.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
And as more than one data set gets unlocked and matched to you, it gets easier. That's how that works.
You got to go on Facebook Marketplace and have randos show up at your house at all hours, so that way it throws it off.
I guess that would maybe poison one of them. I'm not sure if the driving one would work.
Then you get targeted for drug arrests.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's bad enough that I get flagged because my electricity usage is excessive.
If you're someone who gets depressed because of the never-ending march of time and how long it's been since earlier milestones, especially with the time compression during the pandemic, how about Reality Winner has been in prison for so long, she's done.
NSA leaker Reality Winner has been released early for good behavior. She's still got 3 years of supervised house release, and she's in the transition process, so technically she's still in custody.
It's a halfway house till November, I think.
Yeah, not allowed to talk to the press as part of the supervised release or make any public statements or cause any trouble, really.
Reality Winner was a whistleblower, but kind of the least effective whistleblower. Maybe the intentions were good, but certainly didn't do anything on the scope of Snowden or Assange.
Yeah. So.
And maybe that's why they're not trying to kill her right now. Online subscriptions are horrible, and so many places want you to like, oh, listen, it's free for X number of days. Just sign up. We're going to need a credit card. Yeah. Don't worry about that. We just need it. And a lot of people are upset about that, including our lawmakers.
Senate bill would make it easier to cancel a subscription online after a free trial. This is essentially the federal version of the same law that California has. I didn't really see any substantive differences. And that law says, like, as easy it is for you to sign up, it should be just as easy for you to cancel.
You cannot force phone calls.
Unless the sign-up required a phone call.
And, there's a variety of things that you can't get away with doing here. You have to notify before a free trial transitions into
not a
full
trial.
Subscription. Yeah.
But you have to, well, it's not just enough to notify, you have to get some sort of acknowledgement that, like, yes, proceed.
Which will destroy the business models
Yes.
of a lot of companies. We got a little sweet and sour here. We'll start with the sweet.
Victory. New York Senate passes a landmark right to repair bill. It was like 52-12. Louis Rossman's really excited about it. This is only the first hurdle before it becomes law.
So this is all about you got to get the replacement parts, documentation,
51-12.
The minimal stuff.
Yeah.
That people have always been asking for.
The absolute minimum.
There will be, I'm sure, some time for appeal and stuff like that here. And unfortunately, because of the legislative scheduling, there's not time to get this done till the next session.
This really strikes me as a right to wash your own dishes law.
And this might be like calling a timeout right before halftime.
Yeah.
It's like, just let people forget about this. We'll destroy it in the meantime.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Even though that's a little bit of bitter with the sweet, isn't it? But the real sour doesn't come till next.
New York State low-cost broadband law has been blocked by a U.S. judge. So the U.S. judge is playing the idiocy card. Well, I don't know. What does low income mean? What?
Oh, come on.
Do not attribute this to idiocy. You know what this is.
Yeah, the judge is just wandering around saying, like, I don't know what low income is. There's all these terms, and they're not defined what they are. I'm confused. Can somebody help me?
It's a lot of technicality, too.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a solid argument against the spirit of this thing. He has arguments against, who has the authority to actually do these things. He claims that the federal law preempts New York from doing this. So,
well, in that case, then I think the incumbents need to GTFO of New York City. They promised to deliver certain things to New York City in exchange for the franchise. They have failed. They need to GTFO.
I think a lot of people are leaving New York City.
Well, no, I mean the franchise, not the actual people.
Oh,
like the cable franchise and that kind of thing.
Why would
the ISPs?
Why would they leave?
Well, because they failed. They got the monopoly, but in exchange for the monopoly, they were supposed to deliver service.
You want them to behave morally?
No, they were.
Themselves?
It was a business transaction. They were required to deliver service in exchange for the monopoly, and they didn't. They didn't live up to their end of the bargain.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying
Contract
They should be kicked out, I think is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but he specifically stopped that from happening.
Yeah, well, that was the workaround to stop that from happening. And since he's blocking that, then it should be back to they have to be kicked out, which is a worse situation for them.
Well, speaking of reality winner and whistleblowers, another thing that happened when Biden made his little trip is that people kind of got together and they're like, hey, listen, we were all talking and we were thinking there's one big problem that you need to deal with.
Julian Assange, remember him? The UK lawmakers asked Biden to drop the charges against the WikiLeaks founder because he's just in the UK and he's in, Supermax and probably being psychologically tortured and
he's probably in full isolation.
Yeah,
which is proven. I don't think any human being has ever survived more than like 7 or 8 years of full isolation without severe mental problems.
Yeah,
severe mental problems. So the other thing I love about it is, they did this, sort of the same thing, and Biden was part of the team talking about the Russian guy that was poisoned. And they're like, hey, you need to let him go. And Putin's like, what? What about Assange and Snowden? I got Snowden here. You want to talk to him?
You can't.
I remember this story. So there was a big thing about Amazon and was it Uber Eats that also did this? There were several delivery companies that did this where they would guarantee you a minimum payout.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you got a tip, they would put the tip toward the minimum payout before. So like basically they were stealing your tips.
It wasn't initially that way either.
Right. Yeah. They changed it after the fact. And everybody was like, yo, you're stealing. This is theft. And Amazon says, no, the judge will never agree to that. That's not what it is.
Amazon will pay $62 million over deceptive delivery tips claims. The company said it would pay delivery drivers for up to roughly $25 an hour plus tips, but the FTC alleged that it had kept a third of tips. So,
and for once, $62 million is the amount they stole.
Yeah.
They had to give back the exact. It's almost never like that. You almost always pay a fine that's a fraction of what you stole. In this case, it's exactly that we know of.
They did promise to also pay the delivery drivers.
Yeah,
well, we'll see if that happens.
Their promises are so rock solid.
We'll go back and pay them. It's fine.
Amazon's a small indie company. This is a rough thing for them.
Bloomberg, I wonder if this new version of this browser has some sort of paywall blocker because I can't scroll, but we don't see the box anymore. We didn't do that on purpose, Bloomberg, so don't sue us. But yeah, Apple has got some bad news, and they make no bones about this. When they're asked about this, they're like, no, that cannot happen. That is unacceptable. This must never happen.
Apple cannot block pre-installed app removal under bill, according to Bloomberg. So this is, was this the EU version or the US version? Because there's two, it's happening in both places.
I think this was the US version.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is not quite the victory that you might think it is. This is just if somebody wants to uninstall a built-in Apple app, this is supposed to let them, like, because you can't do that right now. It's like, oh, you can't uninstall Mail or you can't uninstall the App Store. That's crazy.
Yeah, and Tim Cook is saying no, that's unacceptable because we have to have that. It's just part of our business model.
It is interesting that the lawmakers seem to be thinking about this like maybe they were around when the IBM PC launched, because IBM initially did try a little bit. They sort of stuck their toe in the water with some of these shenanigans, like, oh, only an IBM certified operating system or IBM certified software on your IBM PC. And the antitrust, I don't think there was any legal action, but the regulators were able to just be like, we're not doing that. And so they're looking at it kind of like that. It's like, well, if somebody wants to format and reinstall something else on their IBM PC, that was fine. Why isn't that okay on an iPhone?
And I think last week we talked about the EU version of this, and the UK it's just more people doing the same thing.
Yeah, another Bloomberg article. Android and Apple face UK probe amid competition. This is the duopoly antitrust article, isn't it? Because we've got that as well as the app bundling.
No, yeah, this is the competition in terms of search and apps on the store and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like they're best frenemies, and the UK is like, well, let's just probe that. This is more of an information discovery operation though, because it's like, you guys seem to be frenemies. Maybe that's competition working, but maybe it's all a ruse. Let's subpoena some documents. So it'll be interesting to follow that.
El Salvador, we talked about last week, has accepted Bitcoin as legal tender. You can use it without paying any capital gains or anything like that. You can spend it, whatever. Still transaction fees, but that's not part of the government. And everybody was like, oh, yay. But it turns out they didn't really have a plan how to do that. Because it's like, Bitcoin, sure. Oh, no. But you have to sort of like tie it to your currency, and there's a lot of stuff to consider. And they're like, all right, we know who to ask for help. And one after the other, they heard booming laughter when they floated these ideas to the major banks.
Reuters reports that the World Bank has rejected El Salvador's request for help on an implementation of Bitcoin as a national currency. Thanks, Reuters.
The IMF has also declined.
It's almost like the deck is not stacked in their favor.
So we'll see what they figure out there. That could be a real disaster. And here's one that's terrifying. And I don't know, would you give it up, or would you stand firm? How long could you stay in a jail cell before you just gave it up?
I think I would give them the duress password, which erases everything.
Well, let's assume that you don't have that set up in advance.
The Irish police to be given powers over passwords. So the Irish police is like, no, you have to give up your password and let us in so we can take a look around. Make sure that you're not doing anything. This will never be abused.
Never.
There were a couple other rules here that actually sort of reined them in a little bit, but this is such an overreach. It's hard not to just focus on this one.
It's definitely a case of, is a computer, the way that you use it, an extension of your brain or not? Because if it's an extension of your brain, right now at least your brain has more or less absolute privacy.
I don't think it can be argued as an extension of your brain, but it also creates a situation where forgetting your password is literally a crime.
Yeah.
And you could be incarcerated almost indefinitely if you keep refusing.
Oh, can you imagine like your parents or something, or like they've been pulled over and the cops like, please tell me your password. And like, I don't know. You have to call my son.
Yeah, my parents would have no clue.
Well,
yeah.
It would also be a great way to take out your political opponents too, because you could, get them in a traffic stop and do a little something to their phone, just a little bit of corruption, and then the phone's like, oh, I don't know what that password is, and it's like, well, we got a password. They won't give us we got a phone. They won't give us the password. They say that this is the password, and it's not the password, and then they're political opponent, problem solved.
Yeah, you say that. You say a little bit of corruption. We don't have a little bit of corruption. We have a lot of corruption. It's coming out of every orifice. And the G7, once again, talking to Russia. And, I think you mentioned this before. Putin's like, hey, listen, I don't control these people. And they're like, no, seriously. Come on. We're all adults here.
The G7 also calls on Russia to crack down on the ransomware gangs. They are out of control. Unpopular opinion, as effective as these gangs are, it's going to make our security better. The headlines of all of these companies having it worse and worse and worse, for some companies, they will spend the money. And it's happening at a time when we have so much consolidation that we have trillion-dollar companies. And it is more survivable to deal with this today than if the world stage actually were such that, the criminal gangs would ignore these vulnerabilities, then nation states could abuse them. We will actually be in worse shape in the future for nation states being able to abuse these types of things because, let's face it, nation states have been abusing these types of holes since the 80s. They just weren't using it for ransomware. They were using it for espionage and data exfiltration and other more unsavory things.
A lot of people, they like to talk about the moon missions, stuff like the space program. Well, you get products out of that. You get innovation out of that. And it's less popular to talk about, but war does the same thing very quickly. Also, really takes care of that population problem, although I guess cyber war, not so much. I love these articles because, and I guess, to be fair, Pakistan might have never promised this, but almost every government in the world was like, look, this could never happen. What are you, crazy? Is this 1984? We're just not going to do stuff like this, and you're an idiot for even suggesting it.
Pakistan's Punjab is going to block SIM cards of citizens that haven't had the human malware patch installed. So yeah, if you're in Pakistan, your phone's not gonna work, which is really critical. It's like your technology's not going to work.
And a lot of people, that's their only connection to the internet is their phone there, so they're pretty much just turning you off. Those Mark of the Beast people, they're crazies, but they might be onto something on this one. And moving on to social media, here's a terrifying thing. Krista, how terrified are you of this?
Not crazy, but maybe
because you don't have an iPhone, right?
Right, and also I don't take these kinds of photos, but...
Well, if you did, I hope it's because you know better, because you know that things like this can happen. But if they do, it's nice because you get a nice payday.
Apple settles lawsuit after iPhone text posted woman's explicit photos on Facebook, report says. Aren't there laws against the... What's happening over there? What are you doing with it?
There's a smell that I get a whiff of something every now and then, and I'm not sure what it is.
What's it smell like?
It doesn't smell bad. It just smells kind of...
Like ether?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of alcohol on the table.
Is there something ruptured somewhere, or is it some kind of aftertaste?
So this young lady was a college student, and she took her iPhone to be repaired in 2016 and had even a video on there. And these guys didn't just pull it off and look at it. They put it on Facebook.
Her Facebook, because she was logged into Facebook.
Yeah. Astonishing.
And Apple paid a bunch of money.
Well, I don't think it's shaken out yet. They're asking for $5 million. And Apple did not respond for requests. Oh, no, they settled the lawsuit. Was it $12 million? I can't remember the number.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they settled and it was for a lot. It might have been an undisclosed amount.
But, maybe they don't tell us, but she was asking for $5 million. $5 million seems low for that. Wouldn't you ask for a lot more?
I almost think this is staged to try to convince the public that having right to repair will lead to this. And it's like, right to repair, like...
But
yeah,
Apple did it. Like,
yeah,
it happened at an Apple facility. Like, what?
Yeah. But again, staged to be like, oh, if we don't do this, then this will happen. Wouldn't be the first time.
That will always happen.
Yeah.
That's a forbidden fruit that certain people are not going to pass up.
It feels so spiteful, though. Why would you do that to someone you don't know?
The posting it makes no sense.
Yeah.
There's no gain from that. Maybe she was just a real unpleasant person to deal with when she brought the phone in to drop it off.
That's still crazy. Like, why would you jeopardize your job like that? But anyway.
For the memes,
weird.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, the Rebekah Jones case continues to be a roller coaster. We found out that she was given whistleblower status, but her court case is still going on. Nothing is resolved. Who knows what's happening? And then this happens.
The curious case of Rebekah Jones' suspension from Twitter. So this article suggests that she was set up.
So why would you ban Rebekah Jones from Twitter? Did she say something incendiary? Did she make violent threats? No, she didn't actually do anything. Well, she might not have done anything.
A bunch of people followed her that are bots, that are known to Twitter to be bots. Did she buy followers, which is forbidden? That'll get your account banned. Or did somebody buy followers in order to get her banned, in order to silence her?
Which, if that's the case, what is the protection against that? And the answer is, there's none.
If you're Jack Dorsey, you have to reinstate her account because you don't know.
But I wonder, What is she doing now? Because if she's become a sort of like a pundit off the back of this, then I could maybe believe that she did it. Otherwise, why would she care about followers?
I think she's, in the interviews that I've seen with her, she just seems kind of exhausted and ready for everything to be over. Because it's like, this is stupid. Nothing is going to change. I'm just going to keep, reporting data.
The failure here is Twitter.
Yeah.
Can we not say that Twitter should now just be invalidated as a social media? Because now we know that this gaping hole is there and we could just cancel each other at will.
Do people look at followers though? Like, I feel like it doesn't matter, but I guess for marketing firms it does, but
I feel like with the whole police raiding her house at gunpoint for no good reason wouldn't have been nearly as big of a deal without social media. Like, that would have just been quietly swept under the rug, because stuff like that happens all the time.
Yeah,
that's certainly true. If you could silence her completely from that, then it would be hard to get the word out.
Yeah. Because you remember the whole time they were like, no, at no point were guns drawn. It was literally in the police report. And then there was video. So, oh, whoops.
But I've heard that a lot. Actually, I have a friend who was arrested at gunpoint. And when they were interrogating him, they were like, why were you so nervous? And he was like, because there was guns in my face. And they said, we never drew guns. So apparently that's a pretty common thing for cops to do. He didn't have a camera at the time. And our final story has to do with the dangers of social media. And I think one of the problems with social media is you see what other people say and do, and you're like, oh man, I wish I would have said that. At least that's what most people do.
St. Paul principal suspended for plagiarizing another principal's Facebook post. This is just like this should have been a nonsense. This is like the most pedestrian thing ever, because some principal somewhere was like, oh, school's about more than blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, that sounds good. Copy paste.
And she put it in a school newsletter as well. She really liked it. And somebody at the school, clearly this woman was not popular at this school. And somebody at the school said, I've seen her writing before. It's barely intelligible. It's rife with
coherent
misspellings and grammar mistakes. She did not write that. And so we Googled it, and guess what came up?
Ooh.
Yeah. Plagiarism.
She just posted a Minion meme.
Plagiarism in this world, you're not going to get away with it. It's
No.
too easy. Too easy to track that down. Well, Krista, this is probably one of the shorter episodes this week. So maybe a quick garden update.
Quick garden update. I have to be away this weekend, so I am frantically watering everything before I leave today. And the pumpkins are doing great. We got lots of blossoms on them. Cucumbers. I have cucumbers in the garden now. They all have blossoms on them. Tomatoes all have blossoms, but no fruit. No blackberries yet.
And most importantly, can we get a kitten update?
Oh, they don't know about the kittens. I found kittens in my yard. I haven't seen them again, though. I've seen the mama, but I haven't seen the baby kittens again.
What steps are you taking to attract them back? You have to get them back.
I've been putting water out for them. I don't want to leave food because I don't want to get every critter in Eastern Kentucky coming up on my porch. But
you're not in Eastern Kentucky.
All right.
Well, sounds like a solid garden. What, you got any final thoughts on your drink?
It's delightful. I regret that it's the only one that I have.
And that was ice. What was it called?
Sparkling ice plus caffeine orange passion fruit.
I think we can get that here. I think I've seen that.
Yeah, I think that's
flavored sparkling water is what they call it.
Static water.
All right, well, thanks again for Morgan with Replickers if you're ever in Florida.
And what is he going to drink on the next episode? Stay tuned.
Bye.